Blog Talk Radio.
Alternative facts.
The following message is transmitted at the request of the United States government. At 12:07 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, numerous unidentified objects of unknown intent and unknown origin were detected at high altitudes over multiple locations of Earth's outer space by the National Radio Astronomy Observatory, and these objects are presumed to be some form of controlled aircraft. It is not known if more of these aircraft will arrive, or if they will attempt entering Earth's atmosphere. United States citizens are encouraged to monitor local media outlets, as more updates will follow as information becomes available. The following message is transmitted at the request of the United States government. Attacks by the undead have been reported in several states across the country. The dead are rising from their graves and are attacking the human race. At this time, it is expected that more attacks of this nature will occur in several other states in the next few hours. The intent behind their attack is unknown at this time. He has been observed that a bike or exchange of fluids is a method of transmission. This is an extremely dangerous situation if they crave the taste of human flesh. It is not known whether this event will last for hours, days, or even longer. Stay calm, as authorities have been dispatched to deal with these creatures. An all-clear siren will be sounded when this situation is under control. Pacific Standard Time, nor is detected a long-range nuclear missile launching. This missile is believed to be headed in the direction of all residents within a 400-mile radius of this area should seek a fallout shelter immediately.
Welcome to Within the Chaos with your host, Rodney the Viking Shortridge, co-host, Melinda the Raven Jackson. Want to give a big old shout out to the Facebook paranormal groups that allow us to post our shows on their pages and helping us to get the word out about all of our guests. Also, a shout out to the Connor sisters. Hats off to Misty and Ashley. They are the founders of SOS Sisters of Salem Paranormal Research Society and host of their podcast, Paranormal Party. You can find them on Facebook under Paranormal Party. If anyone would like to speak to Black Diamond Paranormal Society, BDPS, to discuss your paranormal questions or issues, go to our website at blackdiamondps.org or email blackdiamondps@yahoo.com. As always, our services are free.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us tonight. You can listen in by calling 516-387-1922, or you can go to the Vibe Radio Network website at blogtalkradio.com/Vibe Radio Network. For deep within the heart of the Appalachian Mountains, I'd like to welcome everyone and thank you for listening to Within the Chaos. My name is Rodney Shortridge, and I'll be your host tonight, along with my beautiful Raven, Melinda Jackson. First off, I'd like to give a shout out to my cousins up in Ohio, Jennifer and Joe Shortridge of 222 Paranormal. If you get a chance, check out their talk show. You can find them on Facebook under 222 Paranormal.
Have your devices just randomly stopped working? Are you having IT trouble? Not to worry, Mead's PC Repair Shop can help. We also offer IT support too, including website hosting. We are now also offering full event management services. To find out more, contact our friendly customer service team who will gladly help in any situation. Just call 276-880-8900, or if you prefer, you can stop by our shop at 1089 St. Clair Street, Oakwood, Virginia, 24631 by appointment only, or by visiting the website at meadspcshop.com for more information. Thank you.
Well, tonight our returning special guest is John Titor. John entered duty with the Air Force as an airman in the U.S. Air Force at Dulce, New Mexico, specifically trained because of his abilities to become an officer and pilot. He received intensive training on the latest airframes and power plants available. This included the Titor 3B spacecraft. John Titor commanded the 177th Time Travel Division. Later, he was given the command of a combat group in eliminating a threat to the planet by extraterrestrials. He became proficient. Well, I knew I was going to mess up on something. He became proficient, blah, blah, in martial arts, including karate and kendo. He is there.
I'm hearing that.
I know something. Every time we do a show, there's always one word. Just that one word gets me. He's good at it. With all firearms in use by the military, this includes the most advanced weaponry not generally known to the public at this time. This includes plasma and particle beam weaponry. I was wondering if I was going to get that one. John retired from the Air Force and entered private life to make the public aware of environmental issues the world faces and forced the issue of disclosure with the government. John is the author of numerous articles on politics, threats to the United States, and the environment. So, Melinda, how was your week? Besides helping me with a freaking word again.
I've been recovering from the flu. I'm sorry I haven't been here. It's been rough.
Yeah, you've been tardy a lot.
I know. I've been sick a lot.
You've been sick. You nasty. That's the reason why I'm sitting here with a surgical mask on.
And gloves up to your elbows.
And gloves up to my elbows. And a bio suit. I can tell John about that. I know about bio suits. But we'll get on to John here in a minute. We're real excited. Let's go ahead and take another little commercial break and get this started. Let's make sure I push the right one.
Phantom Fest 2019 is hosted and sponsored by Black Diamond Paranormal Society, Blog Talk Radio Within the Chaos, the Connor Sisters, Paranormal Party, and Elk Garden School Community Ministry. The Phantom Fest is geared for the like-minded and enthusiasts and researchers in the fields of the paranormal, UFOs, cryptozoology, comics, horror films, gamers, cosplay, metaphysical, spiritual, artists, authors, ancient civilizations, tattoo artists, unexplained mysteries, superheroes, FX horror artists, steampunk, costume contest, sci-fi, and so much more. The fest offers a unique and interesting outlook on the abnormal. The Phantom Fest will be held on November 2nd, 2019 at the Russell County Conference Center, 139, Highland Drive, Lebanon, Virginia. Starting at 10 a.m. and going to 6 p.m. Tickets are $7 per person, ages 0 to 6 are free. Or tickets can be reduced to $5 per person with 2 non-perishable food items, to be donated to the Elk Garden School Community Ministry to help families during the Thanksgiving season. Any non-perishable food donations will be happily received. Also, we will have a free costume contest for all ages. Any businesses or persons interested in being a vendor, please be sure to submit your vendor application and include the vendor fee of $25 by October 20th, 2019. Feel free to find the Phantom Fest vendor application at our website, phantomfest.org. Guest speakers, returning this year, Bill and Chris Reap of Reap Investigations, paranormal investigators Tina Marie Williamson and Paul Dixon, giant researcher Heather Arnold. New to this year's Phantom Fest guest speakers, Dave Spinks, Ron Whitehead, Jake Fife, Chad Zumwalt and Whitney Benson. Special appearances by Cosplay Bridget Baker, Martial Arts Christian Yaya Thompson and Token Nihilist Cosplay. Many more to be announced. Find us on Facebook Phantom Fest, www.facebook.com/phantomfest. Our email, phantomfest1@yahoo.com. For more information, please contact Rodney Shortridge at 276-970-1456, Misty Connor at 540-597-7190. The $25 vendor fee includes a 6-foot table, 2 chairs, 2 free admission tickets and power, upon request. The $25 vendor fee is non-refundable. Vendor applicants will be notified within 3 days after payment has been processed for approval. Go to Facebook events at www.facebook.com/events/phantomfest.
Well, let's go ahead and get this party started. It's my honor to welcome back our special guest, John Titor. Thank you, John, for coming on. Sir, it's an honor to have you back on the show. And again, thank you for your service to our country.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you for coming back, sir. It's always great to get people back on, and especially people that have had such a life and experiences and that you have. But we'll start off with, for the ones new listeners, just tell us a little bit about yourself and, what started you on the path, to join the Air Force and about the books that you've written.
Well, I was basically starting my Air Force career at Dulce Base. And Dulce Base, there's 6 or 7 different levels, and it's connected by underground tunnels to other bases here in North America. And also, it's a spaceport. And while I was there, I was being tested and trained, and basically they were analyzing my psyche, and my birth process is far from normal. I'm a clone, and the U.S. government at some point was very disappointed with what recruits they were getting. About 70% of recruits to the military aren't fit for military service. And this creates a huge problem for them. And so they need pilots, they need people in the sciences and things like that. And where are you going to get them if you can't get them from the population? And they experimented with cloning, and they continued on with cloning, and they've been doing it for a very long time. And the people that they were cloning were gifted with memories. And initially, they didn't really know that they were a clone. And I didn't know I was a clone until they were doing medical testing on me, and they basically told me that I was, at one point, the longest living clone they had. And they were all expendable, all the clones. And we were given missions that you weren't really expected to come back from most of the time. And sometimes the missions were mentally challenging, and on some of the missions, even the clones got PTSD. And after being on the mission, were not fit for any more missions after that. So at the end of almost 30 years of service, I was relieved of my command, and I didn't know what they were going to do with me. I was a little worried that they would do some kind of rendition or shallow grave or what have you. And so I went to some friends that are extraterrestrials, and we went back in time. I thought they'd never figure out where I was. And I went back in time, and that worked really well. There was a woman that I knew, and I wanted to be with her. I actually went back in time to be with her. And some great alien friends timed it to within a week of the last time I saw her. And we basically arrived very early in the morning at a private airport, and we pushed one saucer into a hangar and put a lock on the door. And the girl that I knew drove up in a late model Honda, and off I went. And for about the first 6 months, we lived in this house, and I waved at the neighbors, and nobody really knew who or what I was. They just saw me if I was out mowing the lawn. And we made friends. And I was old then, and I'm getting older by the day. But after about 6 months, two FBI agents showed up on my front doorstep. And they basically told me who I was, and that they were now going to be my handlers. And they were my handlers for about 6 months. And I have a nasty habit of getting rid of handlers. It's kind of like sport for me sometimes. If I don't like you, I get rid of you. And it's just the way the game is played. But initially, where I live, I'm close to Edwards Air Force Base, and they had me go out to Edwards a few times. And then they would fly me to Area 51, and I consult. That's what I do these days. And then what was really interesting was that somebody started using my name, and I was a little upset about it. And so I went on Facebook and made a Facebook page, and lo and behold, before I knew what hit me, I had 5,000 friends and growing. And right now, I think that worldwide, I'm up to about 50,000, 60,000 friends. And then I've written 2 books, and they've been read all over the world. But the only countries that I'm not read in are Syria and North Korea. And then just at the beginning of this year, some fans of mine, these 2 girls that follow me on Facebook, they said, well, why don't you start posting on YouTube? And I did. And I have 56 YouTube video clips. And there's a full range of things that I've done. And I talk about telepathy. I talk about the secret space program. And I talk a lot about politics. And we're in a very chaotic time here. And in the last 10, 12 years, I've talked to presidents and senators, congressmen. I get a Christmas card from Donald J. Trump, and I support the president. And it's a little interesting that we're in very chaotic times right now. We had President Obama putting wiretaps Donald J. Trump, and they actually got an illegal wiretap on him. And then after the inauguration, I think that some members of Congress have done everything they could to bring down the presidency. But the problem is the Democrats are just about pushed this country to the edge of real problem is, and it's a fiscal issue for every American. We can't afford to take in all of South America over our southern border. And it's going to bankrupt this country. The other thing that's happened is that George Soros funds these caravans to come up and try to get asylum here in the United States. And George Soros has financed some people to get elected to Congress. But we're in very chaotic times here. I expect that we will either prosecute some people in the Department of Justice and the FBI, and if we don't, then this country may be broken into factions. We may have a civil war in the very near future. I think that the Democratic Party is now broken and is irretrievable. The people that are of Jewish descent, support Israel, are leaving the Democratic Party. And this will deplete the rolls of Democrats. But Nancy Pelosi is trying to give every illegal alien that comes over the border the vote. They want illegal aliens to vote. And by doing so, we are going to see the demise of the United States. And it'll be tragic. And once our republic is destroyed, no amount of tears will get it back. Mm-hmm. And the other thing that they want to do is they want to do away with the Bill of Rights. The first 10 amendments are the Bill of Rights. And the Second Amendment in particular, they'd like to do away with firearm private ownership. And if they get their way on that one, I believe there will be a lot of people that won't give up their guns. It'll be turbulent times. I believe that the military will back up the president, but I believe that some states will not. It'll amount to a civil war. We already know that California and the governor there and the governor of New Mexico will not cooperate with the president. We're in for very difficult times. I wrote something complimentary about President Donald Trump and called out for it by the FBI. I thought it was hilarious at the time. And these two agents, male and female, and the female was upset about something complimentary that I'd written about Donald Trump. And I said, really? That one? I said, I suppose you want me to delete it? And I'd already in free speech. And they said, oh, no, don't delete it. So, but the enemies of Donald Trump are all part of the deep state. So these are truly chaotic times. I never imagined it would get this bad. And I just am very disheartened by it. But a lot of people have started following something called the Q. and there are the QAnons, and they basically post the Q posts, or they decode what he posts, and the Constitution and the United States of America. And if you get a chance, there's several good YouTube video clips on it, and I would recommend watching them.
Well, what exactly is the deep state?
I could name off the names for you. We have Nancy Pelosi and Charles Schumer, Adam Schiff, Elijah Cummings. There's some others in there too. They're all in Congress, and basically they're all disciples of George Soros and Hillary Clinton. And George Soros is pushing for a one world government, and it won't work. And we're already seeing what happens in socialist states. That doesn't work. And Nancy Pelosi and Charles Schumer, they want the United States to be a socialist state. It's incredible. It won't work. And the Democratic Party is far left now, just absolutely far left. The 2020 election, the Democrats can't win. 18 or 19 people running for president, and none of them can win. Mostly because the deep state, these congressmen, congresswomen, have already split the Democratic Party. Mm-hmm. During the 2016 election, Democrats had forged ballots. They rigged election machines. They've had people that were dead voting, and they had illegal aliens voting, and they still couldn't get Hillary elected. And the biggest problem I have with Hillary Clinton is that she and Bill Clinton are responsible for some 76 murders. And President Trump is not guilty of any murders. So in this country, historically, the people vote for what they believe is the best candidate, irrespective of party. And Donald Trump in 2016 was the lesser of two evils and the best candidate. It's amazing to me that Hillary and Bill have had people killed, and they never get prosecuted for it. Mm-hmm. And I'm probably one of the few people that are not afraid to call them out and say, I know what you are. It's crazy, just crazy. But my house with my then girlfriend, now wife, I live in a compound. I have elaborate layers of security, including ADT alarms and surveillance cameras and guards and a couple German shepherds that are getting pretty well fed. So if someone was going to try to get to me, and they got through all that, they might find that I can still pull a trigger. I'm like a spider in its web. But even when I go out, I go with a bodyguard that's, strapped.
Damn.
Well, hello, John. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you a quick question. With you having served in the military and you being a Trump supporter. I'm just really conflicted on how that could be so with him being a draft dodger and then talking and making up about having, fake bone spurs and all these other things that he didn't have to serve. I'd like to know what your opinion is about that.
Can you repeat that, please?
With you having served in the military and you being a Trump supporter, it's very conflicting for me, the Vietnam situation and faking bone spurs and other ailments in order to keep him from having to serve. So I was just wondering what your take is on that.
And I'm going to tell you what I tell a lot of people. I'm a member of the Q, and our strategy was to pick a candidate that could get elected, and that would be the lesser, substantially lesser of two evils. And I don't care what Donald Trump has done before he got to the presidency. I care about what he does now.
Okay.
Very experienced, and some that really didn't. I would have to say just are. But, FDR had his foibles, if you will. He had a mistress, and nobody really cared. And if FDR had lived longer, he would have gone 4 terms. That's how much the people loved him. And they loved him because he put America back to work. He did the fireside chat. He told Americans that in the midst of the Depression, there was nothing to fear but fear itself. And that's what Donald Trump wants to do. I sincerely believe that we are seeing smaller unemployment numbers than we've seen in a long time. And it's across the board. For whites, Asians, blacks, Latinos, everybody's working. And the economy is doing very well. And that's what we need. But with Hillary Clinton, we had Benghazi, which is a total disgrace. We had the sale of uranium to the Russians with Hillary, Uranium 1. And then there are some other things that her and Bill were involved in, like whitewater investment and things like this. But over the years, they are responsible, up to date now, 76 murders. At one point, Jennifer Flowers, that was Bill's mistress for about a decade, and I think that she even wrote a book about him. It's incredible what the Clintons have gotten away with. They were supposed to rebuild Haiti, and they got, I think, somewhere around $100 million to help the Haitian people. And it never happened. It went to their pockets and stayed there. So we just have to look at it from that perspective. I think that the other thing that people need to understand is that Donald Trump picked out a running mate. And I really like Mike Pence. This guy is a straight arrow. I mean, he goes to church. I don't think he's strayed from his wife. I think there's nothing in the closet that he has to worry about. And I think that after Donald Trump does 8 years, Mike Pence will do a couple terms. The Republicans are going to be in office now for a long time. But what we don't need are far left Democrats trying to bring socialism to the United States. And we don't need Muslims in office in the United States. In the United Kingdom, there are a lot of officials elected to office that are Muslim. This is a Christian country. I don't have a problem with Muslims. I don't have a problem with the way they worship. But I do not want them to change the character fundamentals of this country. I don't want that. This is a Christian country and needs to remain so, and remains to be as it is now. We don't need 10 million more illegal aliens in this country voting Democrat only because the Democrats let them in and put them on welfare and Medicare. And basically, that's all just wrong. It's wrong for the country, and it's going to bankrupt the United States if it's not capped. Do we need a wall? Yes. So those are the things that I tell people every day, and that's not going to change. I had somebody ask me if I was going to run for public office the other day, and I will say no, I'm not interested. I'm too old. I believe that the country, in the executive branch, we have what we need to move forward. But Congress, we have criminals in Congress, we have criminals in the Department of Justice, and we have criminals in the FBI. So we're in chaotic times. You want to talk about chaos? I don't think it's ever been worse for the United States of America. I think that
have
recently,
you ever? Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Well, have you ever traveled, in the future and seen whether we do have a civil war and over the issues that you're bringing up? And if so, what happens?
Okay, I'm going to tell you. I went to 2050, and the big thing was the environment. Our environment fails. The oceans die. The air is just unfit to breathe. In the United States, we try to do what we can on air pollution. We're only about 13% of the world's air pollution. The rest of it, Russia, China, India. And they just are big air polluters. And then almost all the countries in the world dump plastic in the ocean. We have more plastic in the ocean than fish. So the fisheries die off. We have famine, and governments fall that are dependent on the fisheries. We have unemployment on the fishermen, the fisheries, the people that process the fish. They're all out of work. So, in price, there's a lot of domestic unrest. Governments fail. In the United States, I wouldn't say we have a civil war. The military controls the military bases. You get away from them, and you would find crime is quite high. They've outlawed guns, and people have gone to something that's worse than firearms. And we're talking the technology for particle beam and laser weapons proliferates, and so we don't have firearms, but we've got something out there 10 times worse. And the police, they wear bodysuits, armored bodysuits. So does the military, and still they fall to these weapons that are, they'll just cut through you, even the armor. So some areas are controlled by gangs. The West Coast, up through the Midwest, MS-13. East Coast, the mafia steps up and takes control of a lot of cities, small towns. So you have criminal elements running some parts of the country, and then you have the very rich that live behind big walls with guards behind them. And food is the precious commodity everywhere in the world. And all those people that want to do away with beef, they're sorry now because, boy, beef, the price of beef just goes through the roof. But I would say agriculture fails. And then we go to a lot of other things. But we will encounter famine in the year 2050. I went to 2050 with a crew. Half my crew came back with PTSD. They couldn't deal with what they saw. And it just was pretty ugly. The flight surgeon, they went through my crew and they said, "You lost half your crew." And I said, "Why?" "They're not fit for duty. They don't want to go to the future anymore." So they were assigned to other duties off flight status. Mm-hmm. And I went through a couple crews that way. But that, I don't know why. It didn't bother me so much. I understood it. But the Democratic Party will do their worst, and they will bring down the country to a degree. They're working on it now. This whole thing, they voted to give illegal aliens the vote. H.R. 1, have you looked at that?
Mm-hmm.
You have to look at it because they want to give every illegal alien that comes over our southern border the vote. Here in California, Gavin Newsom, he gives them a driver's license and signs them up to vote. And we have whole towns here in California that are controlled by MS-13. And these are the baddest boys you can imagine. We have murders out here of police regularly by MS-13. And the police are getting pretty tired of it. And then the local government says, well, we're not going to turn over repeat offenders to ICE. And we just had a murder of this woman up in San Francisco by this guy. And sure enough, he'd been kicked out of jail a few times. They knew he was illegal. They didn't turn him into ICE, and he murdered this woman. I mean, it's just the same story. And we get that story here almost on a daily basis. So it'll only increase with time. There is a percentage of these illegals that come over the southern border. They're drug traffickers, or they traffic in human flesh, criminals. It's crazy. What part of the country are you in, Rodney?
Virginia.
Are you getting any of that there?
No, I even had one guy in Richmond try to argue with me. What if 30 people was to set up tents out in my yard? And I'm like, well, if they need help, I'd help them. And he kind of got pissy with me about it. But I got a question about you. You are an environmentalist, but I noticed that a lot of the conservatives and Republicans, they cut funding for environmental projects, and they're all against climate change. Doesn't that go against your parties and your way of thinking?
Occasionally, I send emails, and my emails get answered, and I do not always agree. But the problem is that Donald Trump, as far as offshore drilling and some of the other things he's done, he has to balance the economy and the environment. And for decades, since the 40s, oil has been ruled by the Middle East. And Donald Trump wants us to be self-sufficient on oil. And for the moment, that's good. I believe it is good. And militarily, we need oil to maintain our Navy. There have been a couple times when we let our oil reserves that were set aside for the Navy be depleted, and now we've cleaned that up. But overall, I would have to say that there are also some environmental things that are going to happen to the planet. I believe that we are looking at some volcanic eruptions all over the planet, and there's very likely that we'll have a tectonic plate shift. And if we do, it'll be a real test for Homo sapiens as a species, because we're going to encounter tidal waves of a tremendous magnitude that will wipe away cities on coastal shores all over the world. Tsunamis that we haven't seen before of a tremendous severity. So we're not out of the woods at all. The Earth is like a living, breathing entity, and the plates shift. We have some real dangers of huge volcanoes destroying even this country. If you look at Yellowstone National Park, there is a tremendous caldera beneath that national park. And if it ever goes, the United States may be considerably smaller. I would say everything west of it would be gone. So we have some real challenges. During my time in the military with the secret space program, I was tasked with surveying exoplanets. There are at least 2 colonies on exoplanets that are a few light years away from us that we can reach, and they're up and running. So Homo sapiens can migrate. I would have to say that we are an intelligent species. I think that we've taken a few missteps, but we're not above correcting those steps and moving on. On the Kardashev scale, Homo sapiens, mankind, we're a level 0. And Dr. Michio Kaku will back me up on that. And we actually have contact with what I believe to be a level 7 on the Kardashev scale. These people are technically light years ahead of us. And we have an agreement with them, and they have a spaceport on this planet. Back in the early 50s, Dwight Eisenhower signed an agreement with the Tall Whites. They have a spaceport at what is Creech Air Force Base. You can look up Creech Air Force Base on Google Maps. And then, while you're there, set up an alternate destination for yourself at Rachel, Nevada. And then you will have the back door and the front door, the north gate and the south gate, to something called Area 51. And within Area 51, there's a spaceport. Most of it's underground for the Tall Whites. And when Dwight D. Eisenhower signed the agreement with the Tall Whites, this country and our NATO allies became protectorate. So the Tall Whites call the shots. They help us. They give us technology. They enabled the building of our secret space program. They're our allies. And I believe that The tall whites, they're like us. They're very similar to us. They're between 7 and 8 feet tall and taller. And they're telepathic. And I've been out to dinner with them. I've seen them in Las Vegas in the casinos. And the casinos know who they are because it's basically give them whatever they want and hands off. Even the sheriff. If the sheriff was called in Clark County, the sheriff would show up and assist them with whatever they wanted to do. So, but I live near this little town called Valencia. It's probably 20 miles from my compound. And sometimes I go out to dinner with bodyguards, and I was accompanied by them to this one Italian restaurant I like to go to, and they met me there and picked up the check. I thought it was very nice. But I have friends that are extraterrestrials, and we talk about politics. We do. They think that the Democrats are criminals and need to be prosecuted. And I say, yeah, eventually it's going to happen. If it doesn't happen in March or in April of this year, then we can start writing Congress off, period. It's not a... And I think that the president is able, under emergency powers, to circumvent Congress. And the military will back him up.
Well, I'm kind of confused. You know, when I was doing my research about looking up questions, to help me with the time travel thing and to learn more about time travel, I found another John Titor, and he says he's from the year 2036. Is that you, or is there another time traveler named John Titor?
At one time on Facebook, there were 100. Wow. And I'm the only one that will come out and say, face to face, say, okay, here I am. And I am a personal friend of Donald Trump. On my Facebook page, I've posted his replies to my emails to him. I've never made a secret of it, that we're friends and that I support him. I endorsed him for the presidency. So there you have it. I can't stop people from doing it. I think I have a YouTube video clip on it, and I discuss the people that are saying they are on Facebook. There was someone that, I don't know, said he was from the year 2039 or whatever. I don't know. What I would have to tell you is that I can't control it. I can't do anything about it. But I can catch him up in a lie every time. And I just, I love to go toe-to-toe with them, but none of them will even go toe-to-toe with me. It's just one of the things I put up with. I don't care. It doesn't bother me. I'll tell you something about time travel. Extraterrestrials do it all the time. You can't cover the great distances they do without doing so. And there are basically two ways that I do time travel, with a spacecraft and with a stationary machine. And all I have to do, anybody that wants to tell me that they've used a stationary machine, I just have to ask them where it is. And that little piece of knowledge doesn't grow on trees. And then the next thing I ask them is how you initiate time travel on a spacecraft. And they can't tell me that one either. So I will tell you that time travel does occur naturally and I don't recommend it, but a fellow by the name of Bruce Gernon did it, and he documented it, and he's on Facebook, and I encourage you to look him up because he's the final word on it.
Okay.
I would also tell you that I've researched something called Skinwalker Ranch. Do you know anything about it?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
And you know that Robert Bigelow owned it. Do you know who the current owner is?
No, I don't know who the current owner is, but I know he supposedly had put up cameras and all types of cameras and stuff to try to catch whatever's happening out there.
Oh, they've done much more than that. But I will tell you this. He's a personal friend. Ryan Skinner, he's a billionaire, and he bought Skinwalker Ranch from Robert Bigelow, who owns Bigelow Aerospace. And he's a billionaire too. There is something about Skinwalker Ranch and what they have witnessed. Scientists have witnessed a portal opening up and then a being, a humanoid, crawling out of the portal and running past two scientists standing on a bluff overlooking Skinwalker Ranch. In addition to that, they have seen Bigfoot. They have seen skinwalkers. Do you know what a skinwalker is? A skinwalker. Do you know what they are?
From what I've been told, it's kind of like a wolf-like creature.
Well, here is a witch or a warlock that paints themselves with a white substance, and then they put on the skin of a dead animal, and they become the animal. And I watched this one video of a skinwalker becoming a wolf. Now, the Navajo Rangers are worth looking into because they've documented Bigfoot and tracked it, and they've also documented skinwalkers. And they've had experiences of a skinwalker being shot, being taken by EMTs to a hospital so it wouldn't die. But it went from human to wolf, and then wolf back to human in the hospital. So the Navajo Rangers, they're trained on this kind of stuff that you normally don't see. And they have cornered beings that are unbelievable. They've tracked them and cornered them. But the biggest thing that they've documented is activity of extraterrestrials on the Navajo reservation. And that includes reptilians and grays.
Wow.
Last year, I went to Arizona, and I went up on Highway 188, where it branches off to the 288. And there was a report to the U.S. Forestry Department of reptilians eating humans there. And the report was written by this guy who had been with the U.S. Forestry Service for 10, 20 years. And he had photographs, and he says, I'm not crazy. I'm not drunk. This is what I am reporting, and I'll stand by it. And so I read the report and went there with backup. And what I found was what was very interesting. 3-man sniper teams, military rifles, military boots, and on walkie-talkies. And I met them, and they basically asked for my ID and told me to be on my way.
Wow.
So they were taking care of it. I just, in those kind of situations, I typically carry my 44 Magnum, my 45 automatic in a shoulder holster, an AR-15, and an automatic shotgun. If I don't hit it with the AR, I'll definitely get it with the shotgun.
Oh yeah. Well, I've heard that.
Usually,
I've heard that there's some kind of portal that's opening up there at Skinwalker Ranch. Is that true?
Yes. Yes. And here's what I believe, that the beings that come through that portal are not benevolent. I would say they're malevolent. Nobody's really been able to ranch successfully there. The guy that ranched there last, he sold it to Robert Bigelow and stayed on as ranch manager. But all they did was put cattle out for bait because cattle would be mutilated and there'd be no blood left in the animal and things like this. It goes back to cattle mutilations. And cattle mutilations are nothing but them looking at the food chain. We're a science experiment for them. One of the things that has come out of the extraterrestrials, because we get black technology from them, some members of our government have learned about adrenochrome. And adrenochrome, you'll have to Google it, ADRENOCHROME. Look it up. It's pretty scary stuff. The Clintons are into it. Their friends are into it. Al Gore is adrenochrome vials. It's blood. And I would tell you that it's a very dangerous drug. But it's something that comes from a Homo sapien, and they get it when the Homo sapien is pumping adrenaline. In other words, scared. And then they take the adrenochrome out of the human and they put it in vials and drink it. But it's fairly lethal stuff.
Well,
I don't advocate it, but there are some people that like it.
Mm-hmm. Well, did humans evolve? As you know,
we have a chance to evolve. Homo sapiens can evolve if we don't kill ourselves off. I would tell you that one of the things I learned is that there was an all-out nuclear war on this planet, and then that Homo sapiens revived. They came out of the Stone Age and started over again. And that's what will happen if there's a nuclear war on this planet. That's what would happen. However, the tall whites did something here a decade ago, maybe longer. They went to Russia and took over a bunch of missile silos and had the launch codes and demonstrated that they could control Russian missiles. And then they came here to the United States and somewhere up in Wyoming to a missile base and did the same thing. They demonstrated to both sides that they could arm or disarm our missiles in the silos. And they're not connected. They're all individually set up. And they got the launch codes and everything. So I don't think they'll let there be a nuclear war. I know the Chinese don't want a nuclear war. The only one that ever really, tries to rattle his missiles is Kim Jong-un. And I'm pretty sure that Vladimir Putin already took him aside and told him the bad news. If he fires missile one, that his little country might get evaporated in the next 2 or 3 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So he knows that.
What do you know who? Do you know who killed JFK?
Yes. The man who could not wait to be president, Lyndon Baines Johnson.
Yeah.
You know, in my first book, Authorized Chronicles of John Titor II, I talk about 5 assassinations: John F. Kennedy, Robert Kennedy, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, and William Colby. William Colby was resigned from the CIA, a great swimmer. He used to compete in the Olympics when he was a young man. And they drowned him in the Potomac. So, but yes, all of those assassinations were carried out by the same people that killed JFK, and the FBI, the Secret Service, and the military were in on it. And they wanted JFK out of the way, and that started the ball rolling because he didn't want to escalate in Vietnam. And Lyndon Baines Johnson would. And they did. And there's your answer.
Okay.
The last conspirator recently died that was part of this conspiracy. Bush number 41, the 41st President of the United States, George Herbert Walker Bush. Yes. He was there the day JFK was killed at the Dallas Police Department. At the time, he was the deputy director of the CIA.
You got one for him?
I do have a
corrupt is our government so corrupt? You have no idea. You know, it's like, and I talk about these things, and the FBI knows I do, and some people are angry with me for what I say. Too bad. It's the truth. If you want to try and come and kill me, you better bring tanks. Maybe some B-52s.
Well, look at it.
Because I'll make it hard on them.
And some people's opinion is, you know, people just get so angry now instead of, you know, voicing their opinion.
Well, I'm just telling the truth. You know, I contacted Paul Ryan and told him that I would like to speak before Congress, and he wouldn't let me do it. So, but I was perfectly willing to speak to both houses and explain it to them. They don't like people to know that we signed the deal with the extraterrestrials, the tall whites. Mm-hmm. And Edward Snowden, the documents that he gave to the Russians, the Chinese, the Iranians, was that we signed an agreement with the tall whites, and we are a protectorate of the tall whites. And the Iranians were gearing up to do a nuclear war. They were going to nuke us, and now they found out that should they launch Missile 1 towards us, it will be scorched earth for Iran. You know, same thing for Russia and China. They know. This is said politely in political circles. Do you really want the tall whites to, you know, do scorched earth on you? Because they can. They can. Frequently, not people, but extraterrestrials that undesirable on this planet get shooed away by the Secret Space Force and that program, or by the tall whites. They literally step in and put a shot across their path of plasma and tell them, don't do it. And I've seen video of it when it happens, and it's very interesting. You see the shot of plasma launched, and the UFO just dart in the other direction. So we are a protected species, and they protect us on our colonies. And the colonies are people that were on this planet that suddenly died inexplicably in a motorcycle accident or skiing accident or automobile accident. There's a closed casket ceremony, and the reality is they're on their way to an off-world colony. Typically, they're an engineer or scientist or in the medical or biomedical fields. A tradesperson. They like people in the trades too. You got to have a plumber, you know. You got to have an electrician. You got to have people that can help them start up industry. And that's what they've done. They've made 2 colonies off-world self-sufficient. When the environment on this planet starts to collapse, tickets will be sold to go to the off-world colonies, and they'll be very expensive.
Yeah, so the poor gets left behind again. Those poor people.
I would say, you know, be prepared to pay $100,000 a ticket. That's what Elon Musk wanted to charge for one-way tickets to Mars. But these tickets will be more expensive, so you're looking at a lot of money. And one of the other thing that we're going to see in the future, and I'll talk about this doesn't start a whole thing on the stock market, but I need to talk about it anyway.
Okay.
At one point, we went off the gold standard. And I expect that Donald Trump will put us back on the gold standard. And that will mean that we'll have gold in Fort Knox to back up every dollar. So that's going to happen in the near future. The future of our economy will just get stronger, and this won't hurt our economy, but we will become probably financially the economic powerhouse for the world. But the world comes to an end. The environment collapses. If you could see what I've seen, like on Midway Island, where thousands of seabirds and fish and mammals have washed up on the beaches at Midway Island in the Pacific, dead from ingested plastic. There are gyres all in our ocean, like the Pacific gyre. They tried to clean it up here a couple months ago. They sent out some very specialized scientific equipment that was supposed to pick up the plastic, and it broke down. They towed it out from San Francisco, and then they towed it to Hawaii. And that's the last I've heard about. So the Clean Up Oceans program, you can Google it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but there is so much in the Middle East, in Lebanon, that the trash and plastic on their beaches are about 2 feet thick, because they argue among the tribes in Lebanon who's responsible to clean it up. It just keeps getting worse. In the Gulf of Mexico, we have a gyre. In the Atlantic, we have a gyre. In the Indian Ocean, there's a gyre. But one of the worst gyres, I think, is in the Philippines. I mean, tons of refuse, trash, wash up on their beaches every day. I did go to Tahiti recently and found that a lot of their beaches were pristine, and I was very impressed. And I was talking to a marine biologist about it. He says, the way that the currents run, everything seems to circumvent that little island chain. It's beautiful. I love it there. I would live there, but you're too far away from everything. But if you have a late model spacecraft in the backyard, you're okay.
I'd say so.
Yeah, I think that would be how I would look at it. I always have. I had a problem with the IRS. They wanted to make me pay taxes on it. I said, here's my documentation. It's a loaner. And it was the document was signed by the great alien envoy to the United States. but they couldn't read the document. They wanted me to have it translated for them, so I did that. And then they said, okay, you don't have to pay taxes on it. And then the FAA wanted to inspect it. Because every time I fly it over 150 feet, they know I'm flying it. They see it. So I have to do 100 feet or less. Contour flying. But I keep the maintenance up on it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty much my life in a nutshell. Could it get any more complicated? I don't think so.
Well, I have a question for you, John. Have you ever been trapped in another dimension or parallel universe?
I was on a time travel mission, and I went to the appointed place, and I had a device that would signal and say, I'm ready for pickup, get me, beam me up, and nothing happened. So there is a standard operating procedure that you follow. You wait 24 hours, then come back to the place. You can't just stand there and wait. You'll get noticed. I did what the standard operating procedure called for, and they did pick me up twice, and I had a team with me, and they were getting a little worried. I said, not to worry. And then the third time, gray aliens came and got us. So that's how it works. I talk about how time travel missions are conducted and the devices we use for the return trip in my first book, Authorized, Chronicles of John Titor II. I've only written 2 books, and the world may have to just live with those 2. I'm not probably going to do any more. The second book continued, Chronicles of John Titor II. And then there is my YouTube videos, John Titor. I think there's 56 right now. If you read everything I've ever written, it would definitely expand your horizons. Viewing my videos will help. I had an engineering white paper depository on Facebook, and everything kept going missing. And then I was told, well, you know that Facebook just uses LifeLog software from the CIA. And I said, really? Because I had several very important engineering documents on there, and they went missing. So then I moved them to Google+. And I had over 100,000 hits on my Google+ blog. And then Google said, oh, we're going to take down your blog. And I said, why? Well, if you pay $10 a month, you can have a Google account and a Google blog. But you have to move all of your documents. And I probably had 200, maybe 300 engineering white papers. And I just downloaded them to a server that I own. And then I back up the server once a month. I have 4 servers, and one of the servers is a honeypot for the Russians, the North Koreans, and the Chinese. And what I put on there is stuff that they'll spend years trying to unravel it, but there's nothing there. I've got formulas there that don't make sense. And it's all on purpose, and it's just, like what they managed to break into it, and then I look up their reverse address, and then I turn them in. But it was just crazy at one point. And then I had to do some things with my network to make sure that they didn't penetrate past my little honeypot. But it's fun watching them on there, and I trace them back. I get the North Koreans still 3 or 4 times a month, and the Russians once in a while. I had the Russians and the Chinese on my cell phone for a while, and that just went away. I don't put anything on my cell phone. but cell phone numbers. And that's it. Man, now I have your number on there. That's what we're talking on.
Nice.
But
well,
I mean,
the FBI, I'm used to it.
But the FBI is all over me, I have to tell you, because I'm a friend of the president. And that's not going to change. But this one attorney I talked to, he said, "You mean you're just a friend of the president and they want to talk to you?" And I said, "That's right." And I told him about what I write. And he says, "Wow." So the FBI is no longer a credible institution, a law enforcement institution. It's not credible. Neither is Congress. Neither is the Department of Justice. It's very sad times for America. This is chaos. We are in it. Make no mistake. And I'm only here to report it. I've actually been told that I can come to another planet and be given citizenship there just by asking. I don't have to be here. I just want to be here to help the President and the United States of America. And occasionally I do my little bit. That's all I can do. I'm just one man. But I am a member of the Q. And the Q represents, I suspect, hundreds of thousands of Americans. And worldwide, millions of people that listen and hope that the Q will prevail. They say the motto is the Great Awakening. And I'm probably going to do a live radio show in the future about the Q. And I'll have some people from the Q on the show. So I'm sure the FBI and the Department of Justice will be tuned into that one. Because we're going to talk about everything. And including adrenochrome. You need to learn about that, Rodney.
Okay.
And the people that have been caught with it, including Al Gore. But there's something that can be taken from children, missing children. Very bad. So, the Clintons, there's no doubt in my mind. When I talk to most Americans about 2016, I say, Trump in one hand, Hillary in the other. Which would you pick? And they say, Trump. And I say, why? And lots of them will just say, Hillary for prison. I know I travel all over the country, and I still see billboards, Hillary for prison. But it hasn't happened. I thought it would happen over Benghazi. But there's been so many murders. I mean, and they're all attributed to Bill and Hillary and Democratic National Committee. Democratic National Committee paid for a MI6 field agent to write a dossier on the president that wasn't untrue. And he's actually testified in court in the United Kingdom that the dossier was fake. But that dossier was given to the FBI, and they took it as fact. And they obtained FISA warrants with it. And now those FISA judges that issued the wiretaps, they're going to go back on those people. James Comey, Andrew McCabe, Peter Strzok, Lisa Page, they're going down. And we're all going to get to watch it happen.
Mm-hmm. Well, has the U.S. government created any... Oh, I'm sorry. Has the U.S. government created anything that can control time, any time control technology?
Yes. We have a time machine. I've been there.
But
I know.
Going back and forth. Yeah, I understand that. But I mean, can it control time to the point where they could actually, say, stop an assassination or slow time down to where they can maybe move troops or move some, a group of men to a certain location without being detected?
Yes, they could do that. The first time I went to the time machine, it's very interesting. I go there, and you'd think there'd be just guards everywhere where this thing is. There was a single guard. I gave her my name and drove in and parked my Jeep that was assigned to me. And I got out, and someone was waiting for me, and I was escorted to this room. And there was a big conference room. There one big table in it. There was about a dozen PhDs sitting there. And they wanted to talk to me like they knew my future. And they asked me questions. I mean, just one right after another was coming out at me. And like how I wanted to spend the rest of my life, what I wanted to do with it. What I expected to do after retirement if I lived that long. And because they always gave me missions that were like one-way tickets to hell. So, and I told them the answers, and at the end of all that, I was shown the computer room where they actually crunched the numbers, and it's all based on quantum theory and mechanics, and it's designed by Michio Kaku. And Michio, if you're listening, you should just step up and say you did it, because I read your white paper. So it's interesting. He wrote a white paper. It was on the internet for a long time. Then they scrubbed it off.
Uh-huh.
And I kicked myself because I didn't download it. So Michio Kaku, he gets a paycheck every month from U.S. government. That's who he works for. Every once in a while, he teases people about the future and things. He knows the answers. He does. It's fascinating to talk to him. But he doesn't like it when I talk about the white paper that he wrote.
What is the white paper?
What's that?
What is the white paper?
It's an engineering document that explains how to build a time machine. Okay? And it breaks it down to the component level. It tells you what the requirements are for it. If you had the engineering document and probably 25 million, you could build one. But the important ingredient is a power source. You got to have a lot of power to run it. So
where's the power source? What is the power source, and where does where do you generate that much energy?
Well, Nevada. There's plenty of sources. One is Hoover Dam. But if you drive from Los Angeles to Las Vegas, Nevada, you will see some power plants unlike you've ever seen that are all about solar power, and they generate a tremendous amount of power. I would say maybe 2-3 times what Hoover Dam could do. So, and it's all generated by solar panels. It's fascinating to see. If you drive to Vegas on the 15, Interstate 15, you'll see it. You can't miss it. Once you get past Baker, let's see, past Baker, past ZZYZX. Have you ever driven to Vegas?
Yes, sir. I used to be a cross-country truck driver, so I've been all over the country.
So you know where the 15 is, and driving through California to Nevada and Las Vegas, right?
Yes, sir.
And one side of the road before you get to Prim, on the left side, you'll see these power generation systems there, all solar power. It's incredible.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
But I like to go to Vegas once in a while. I don't really gamble too much. I used to like to walk downtown. I don't like to walk downtown near the Golden Nugget anymore. But I used to like to play craps. That's my favorite game. My wife, she'll play blackjack, but I love the dice. And usually I win a little money, and then I'll stop playing and eat something and have a couple drinks. And whoever's with me gets to eat something and have a couple drinks. So it works out pretty nice. Sometimes I go to the shows, not too often. Just depends on who's there. But,
yeah, when I drove up there, I didn't get a chance to really get to enjoy anything. I was hauling hot water heaters there and drop them off and keep on going.
Oh dear. Yeah.
So I haven't got to enjoy it like most people have.
Yeah. No, I think on my last visit to Vegas, I went to the Area 51 Museum, and there's a museum there. And I went to the Mob Museum. I found that just fascinating. I've always been fascinated with firearms. They have quite a firearms collection there.
Mm-hmm.
But the sheriff of Las Vegas, like, he used to carry a Winchester rifle years ago, back in the 60s. They have his saddle there, and a picture of him on his horse with his Winchester.
Wow.
To me, I think he was underpowered, but
yeah, even for that time, 1960, they had cars.
Because in the 60s, I mean, we had, like the mafia was pretty big then.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it's a very interesting town still. I have friends there.
Well, I got a question. How long does it take you to time travel to a certain point in time? Is it instantaneous, or does it take time to get to that point?
Stationary machine. And I have a team with me. Usually a team is 4 to 6 people.
Mm-hmm.
And depending on the requirements of the mission. And we're dressed appropriately for where we're going. Capability with the language of where we're going. And we have some defensive materials with us. We're standing on a platform. There's a humming noise, and I never seem to retain consciousness all the way through it. I seem to, there's a momentary lapse in my mental processes. Everything's a blur, and I usually land standing up where I'm supposed to be, and it seems like only a few minutes has passed. Now, if I was going someplace and I was in a spacecraft, and knowing that our atmosphere almost extends all the way to the moon, once I'm out of the atmosphere and I'm going to make a jump in time in a spacecraft, on the outside of the spacecraft, it's a blur. Inside, it's a little bit like being in slow motion. And if you're sitting down, it's better. And you're able to monitor the time travel mission. You're watching LEDs and gauges in front of you, knowing that you have a good path to where you're going. Because one of the problems with doing it during space flight and to jump in time to travel someplace that's light years away in just a few minutes, you see, that is the trick. And it's never a straight line. You might fly through a planet. So you have to have some ability to maneuver while you're doing it, point to point. You see what I'm saying? I mean, you have to, there's an asteroid belt, there's the Kuiper belt, and there's planets that you have to deal with that are probably in your way. So it might be a multi-step, and you just don't know. Depends on what system in this galaxy you're going to. That's the best way I can explain it.
Well, has anybody contacted you, maybe about doing a film?
Yeah, I get producers that want to do a movie on me. Someone tried to do a movie and they sell it for like $2.99 on eBay. Typically I tell them, if you want an option on my book, $10,000. If you want both books, $20,000 for 6 months. If you don't exercise the option in 6 months, these guys came up. I think they were affiliated with the big studios here, California, and let's see, the first letter of their movie company started with an S, and the last letter ended with a Y. And they came to me and they gave me a check for $20,000, and I cashed it. And for 6 months, nothing happened. So then I had my attorney write him a little letter that says, you don't own it anymore. So, but yeah, I have a price, whatever will be a net. Not an Hollywood. They learned how to do that accounting a long time ago.
Oh yeah.
That's how I do it. And so the $20,000, what did I do with that? Let's see. I gave it to my wife, and I don't know what happened to it. So that's what frequently happens. I really don't handle the money. My wife Marcia does, and I don't know.
Wow.
Occasionally, she looks at my wallet and says that you have no cash. I say, yeah, I know. So she puts cash in there. I don't know. I don't pay the bills. She does. Am I worth a few million? I will tell you that I am.
Wow. Well, that's awesome. Well, how would you summarize all this from what you talked to us tonight about your experiences in time travel and the government and such?
I would have to say that Homo sapiens have a propensity for good and a propensity for evil. And when they are evil, they are really evil. The graft and greed and corruption in Washington, D.C., within the Beltway, I would say that if that was incinerated, it would do the world a lot of good. But that's too easy of an answer. We need to prosecute criminals in Congress and Department of Justice and FBI. Those institutions used to represent Americans and the freedoms that the founding fathers meant us to have, and we no longer have them. The FBI obtained fraudulent warrants to wiretap a president before his inauguration. We had a candidate that was responsible for multiple murders and not prosecuted. And I want to tell you something about Bill Clinton. One of the first murders that he was responsible for was a 19-year-old girl he had an affair with, and she was pregnant. And as soon as it got around that she was pregnant, she was dead. Think about it.
That's not good.
You know, I mean, we all know that Uma Abedin, Anthony Weiner's wife, was in reality the lesbian lover of Hillary Clinton. Have you ever seen the movie Benghazi?
No.
You need to watch that movie. 13 hours, Benghazi. That's your homework. You watch that movie. These people were State Department employees in Libya, and they were crying for help. All they had to do was send a couple F-16s a flyover, and the attacks would have died down. Instead, all of those people were left to die, and there were some paid mercenaries there that put up the fight of their lives so that others could live. And some of them died, but they were the heroes of Benghazi, and they lived to tell the tale. And you have to watch that movie.
Okay.
When I watched that movie in the theaters, there was not a dry eye in the house. Everybody cried. Everybody cried. It's a true story. I mean, Americans were let down by Barack Obama, our first Muslim president, and Hillary Clinton. They were too busy partying up a storm. No. We're in the chaos, Rodney. Make no mistake.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well,
and
then
I'm the anomaly. I am the anomaly in the lives of some people, and I will continue to be. But if you read that I'm dead, it wasn't by my own hands. I didn't commit suicide, and I didn't accidentally shoot myself, and I won't be poisoned. Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to go down. I'm going to go down with a gun in each hand. Okay.
Okay.
I'll take a few with me. And I have not one, but 2 bulletproof vests.
Well, that'll help.
That'll certainly help, won't it? 2 bulletproof vests.
It sure will, bud. Well, like I said, since we're running out of time, what's your plans for the rest of 2019? And do you have any other projects that you're working on that you're willing to discuss real quick?
Sure. I'm going to continue to publish YouTube videos about politics and extraterrestrials. I'm going to take a group of people to Chaco Canyon. There's a portal there, and I'm going to go up to near Area 52 and Skinwalker Ranch. And I have a couple spots available. I will take a few people up. I like to do that. I like to visit archaeological sites. I like to take a lot of photos. I expect to get photos of possibly Skinwalker and possibly Bigfoot and hopefully a UFO or 2. I know where they are. And it should be interesting. But at the same time, I'm no fool. I won't go with just good looks and a prayer.
Well, do you have well, I know you mentioned your YouTube channel. Do you have a website? Anybody wants to talk to you.
Everybody goes to 177th Time Travel Division on Facebook. that is the page everybody goes to. I have some other ones, but go there. My best posts are there. That's where I put them. And then on YouTube, John Titor, Chronicles of John Titor. 2, I would say 56 YouTube videos and growing. I'll probably have 100 by the end of this month.
Wow. That sounds like you stay really busy.
And I will do a show. I'm going to do this show, the John Titor Show, and it'll be live. And I will have people from the Q on there with me, and people some people, the Navajo Rangers on with me, and things like that. So I will make it interesting for people. I'm going to talk about extraterrestrials and where they are. If you want to go out and meet one, let me know.
Oh well, I'm letting you know. I'd like to meet one. I really would.
If you're serious, you send me a little email. You have my email address?
I think so. I'd have to check.
It's LTC John Titor Titor @gmail.com. Send me a little email.
Okay, I sure will.
Give me your hopes and desires, and yes, you can bring a camera.
All right, that's even better.
Camcorder if you like. I don't care. I carry both. I have a Nikon and a camcorder.
Yeah, I carry both too.
So,
well, John.
Yeah, we will give you the time of your life without losing your life.
Okay, well, I appreciate that.
I thought you would, you know.
If you put that out there, yes, I would greatly appreciate you keep my life.
Yeah, I haven't lost anybody yet. You know, like there was one time I went to Lovelock Cave and I got a little worried about my life and crawl up a 150-foot cliff to get to Lovelock Cave. There's a very small path up to it, but I had to do it.
Wow.
But, look up Lovelock Cave sometime. But in the meantime, promise me you're going to watch 13 Hours Benghazi. It's on YouTube, I think.
I sure will. I'll look it up and watch it.
And learn about adrenochrome.
Okay.
The drug that is used by the Clintons and others.
Okay. I've got all that wrote down here. Oh yeah. We're wrapping it up. If unless you got something else you want to add to it.
No. Buy my books on eBay and Amazon. I'm not going to write any more books. I actually enclose my business card and autograph each book. So, but they will become valuable. They really will.
Well, that's awesome.
But Rodney, it's been a pleasure.
Oh, it's been an honor, sir, to have you on again, and I appreciate you coming back on.
All right, we'll do it again. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Oh, thank you. You have a great night.
I will. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye. Well, I want to thank John for coming on the show. Like I said, I have nothing but respect for him and his opinions and his thoughts and his experiences. And again, we welcome him back anytime. Next week, Thursday night, March 21st, our special guest will be paranormal and cryptid investigator and author of West Virginia Bigfoot, David Spinks. So, you got anything you want to say before we wrap it up? She can't. You know, she's been sitting here burning up. The girl's got a fever. You're not going to say night, y'all?
Good night, everyone.
Oh, God. If y'all didn't get a, you know what I mean, and something's wrong, Pie. I've got to go. Where's that damn button? No, that's the wrong one. There we go. That's it for us tonight. I want to thank everyone that took the time to listen in. I'd like to give a big shout out to the Vibe Radio Network and to Ryan for putting up with us. Also to all the first responders and our men and women in the armed services, thank you for your service and the sacrifices that you and your families make every day to keep our great nation safe. Tune in next week to another exciting show starting at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Everyone can go to our Facebook page Within the Chaos, and don't forget to like our page to see upcoming guests along with past shows, postings, or you can also go to my website at www.blackdiamondps.org or blogtalkradio.com/Vibe Radio Network. Also, we have a YouTube channel, so go to YouTube, look up Within the Chaos for past shows. Thanks again. Until next week, everyone have a safe weekend and have a good night. And love you all. Be careful out there.
I'm sorry, but I don't want to be an emperor. That's not my business. I don't want to rule or conquer anyone. I should like to help everyone if possible. Jew, Gentile, black man, white. We all want to help one another. Human beings are like that. We want to live by each other's happiness, not by each other's misery. We don't want to hate and despise one another. In this world there's room for everyone, and the good earth is rich and can provide for everyone. The way of life can be free and beautiful, but we have lost the way. Greed has poisoned men's souls, has barricaded the world with hate, has goose-stepped us into misery and bloodshed. We have developed speed, but we have shut ourselves in. Machinery that gives abundance has left us in want. Our knowledge has made us cynical, our cleverness hard and unkind. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity. More than cleverness, we need kindness and gentleness. Without these qualities, life will be violent, and all will be lost. The aeroplane and the radio have brought us closer together. The very nature of these inventions cries out for the goodness in men, cries out for universal brotherhood, for the unity of us all. Even now, my voice is reaching millions throughout the world, millions of despairing men, women, and little children, victims of a system that makes men torture and imprison innocent people. To those who can hear me, I say, do not despair. The misery that is now upon us is but the passing of greed, the bitterness of men who fear the way of human progress. The hate of men will pass, and dictators die, and the power they took from the people will return to the people. And so long as men die, liberty will never perish. Soldiers, don't give yourselves to brutes, men who despise you, enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what to think, or what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle, use you as cannon fodder. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men, machine men with machine minds and machine hearts. You are not machines, you are not cattle, you are men. You have the love of humanity in your hearts. You don't hate, only the unloved hate, the unloved and the unnatural. Soldiers, Don't fight for slavery, fight for liberty. In the 17th chapter of St. Luke it is written, the kingdom of God is within man, not one man nor a group of men, but in all men, in you. You, the people, have the power to create machines, the power to create happiness. You, the people, have the power to make this life free and beautiful, to make this life a wonderful adventure. Then in the name of democracy, let us use that power. Let us all unite. Let us fight for a new world, a decent world, that will give men a chance to work, that will give youth a future and old age a security. By the promise of these things, brutes have risen to power, but they lie. They do not fulfill that promise. They never will. Dictators free themselves, but they enslave the people. Now let us fight to fulfill that promise. Let us fight to free the world, to do away with national barriers, to do away with greed, with hate and intolerance. Let us fight for a world of reason, a world where science and progress will lead to all men's happiness. Soldiers, in the name of democracy, let us all unite!
Phantom Fest 2019 is hosted and sponsored by Black Diamond Paranormal Society, Blog Talk Radio Within the Chaos, the Connor Sisters, Paranormal Party, and Elk Garden School Community Ministry. The Phantom Fest is geared for the like-minded and enthusiasts and researchers in the fields of the paranormal, UFOs, cryptozoology, comics, horror films, gamers, cosplay, metaphysical, spiritual, artists, authors, ancient civilizations, tattoo artists, unexplained mysteries, superheroes, FX horror artists, steampunk, costume contest, sci-fi and so much more. The fest offers a unique and interesting outlook on the abnormal. The Phantom Fest will be held on November 2, 2019 at the Russell County Conference Center 139, Highland Drive, Lebanon, Virginia. Starting at 10 a.m. and going to 6 p.m. Tickets are $7 per person, ages 0 to 6 are free. Or tickets can be reduced to $5 per person with 2 non-perishable food items, to be donated to the Elk Garden School Community Ministry to help families during the Thanksgiving season. Any non-perishable food donations will be happily received. Also, we will have a free costume contest for all ages. Any businesses or persons interested in being a vendor, please be sure to submit your vendor application and include the vendor fee of $25 by October 20, 2019. Feel free to find the Phantom Fest vendor application at our website, phantomfest.org. Guest speakers, returning this year, Bill and Chris Reap of Reap Investigations, paranormal investigators Tina Marie Williamson and Paul Dixon, giant researcher Heather Arnold. New to this year's Phantom Fest guest speakers, Dave Spinks, Ron Whitehead, Jake Fife, Chad Zumwalt and Whitney Benson. Special appearances by Cosplay Bridget Baker, Martial Arts Christian Yaya Thompson and Token Nihilist Cosplay. Many more to be announced. Find us on Facebook Phantom Fest, www.facebook.com/phantomfest. Our email, phantomfest1@yahoo.com. For more information, please contact Rodney Shortridge at 276-970-1456, Misty Connor at 540-597-7190. The $25 vendor fee includes a 6-foot table, 2 chairs, 2 free admission tickets and power, upon request. The $25 vendor fee is non-refundable. Vendor applicants will be notified within 3 days after payment has been processed for approval. Go to Facebook events at www.facebook.com/events/phantomfest.